Hey everyone, Austin here, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at 5-Minute Fantasy's Week 7 booming and busting quarterbacks. So you'll notice right here from the start, I've got a lot of booms, not a lot of busts. It's because I think mainly this week, the good quarterbacks are playing the bad teams, or at least the good quarterbacks are playing bad defenses, and so it was really hard to find a lot of busts this week. Let's take a look at the bust first. You'll notice Joe Burrow at Baltimore. I just think that Baltimore is on a roll right now. They're playing extremely well. I think because of the scheme that they have, they can cover wide receivers pretty well. And so he might be pressed to mistakes. And, Joe Mixon might end up having to take a higher percentage of this load. Ryan Tannehill versus Kansas City, mainly because Kansas City has a horrendous rush defense and a just slightly below average pass defense. So, in terms of who do you want to give the ball to, obviously Derrick Henry's that number one guy. So I think he's not going to get a lot of opportunity. And then Mac Jones versus the New York Jets. I think it's because the Patriots are going to be up a lot, and he's not going to have to throw a lot. Last time they played, he had 167 yards, I think, no touchdowns, basically because they were up by 20 by the time they kicked off. And then as far as booms go, Sam Darnold at the Giants. The Giants are a horrendous defense, and they have an offense that actually might be able to somewhat keep up with the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Carolina Panthers have a good defense, and I believe they're getting Stephon Gilmore onto the active roster this week. But this game should bode well for Sam Darnold in what needs to be a get-right game for the Carolina Panthers, a team who's lost 3 consecutive games. I'm going to say Jameis Winston at Seattle because this is a win that the Saints really need to get if they want to, stay in the playoff picture. Last week, I believe they played Washington. Well, before the bye, rather, they played Washington, and Jameis Winston had a great game. A lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. So far, he hasn't been throwing a lot of yards this year, which has been really weird. He's been really kind of held under the radar. It's been a defense and special team story, which I don't understand, but we'll see what he can do against a Russell Wilson-less Seattle team. And then we're going to say Carson Wentz at San Francisco because I don't think the San Francisco defense is as good as it has been in years past. And Carson Wentz, despite his injury history, he's still a relatively mobile quarterback. And because of that, I think that this Carson Wentz-led Colts team believes in him, especially going into this week. San Francisco is a decent run defense, and so that should bode well for the matchup against the 49ers. I'm going to say Teddy Bridgewater because he's actually been doing pretty well in terms of throwing the football, especially downfield. He's averaging 240 yards a game, which is not a crazy huge amount, but that's a lot for somebody who everyone was like, oh, you can just dink and dunk. No, Teddy Bridgewater is actually doing a pretty good job of leading this Denver Broncos team, and especially against the Cleveland Browns, who's just decimated by injuries. He should be able to come in and get a decent performance against Cleveland. I'm actually going to say Jimmy Garoppolo against the Indianapolis Colts. So are you saying, Austin, do you think this game is going to be a shootout? Maybe. What I think is more likely is this game doesn't have a lot of turnovers from the quarterback position. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was, 27-25 or, something like that. Not exactly a shootout in 2021 standards, but if there's no turnovers and each quarterback throws for, 250 to 300 and, 3 or 2 touchdowns, those are good stats. Those are really good stats. And then I'm going to say Jared Goff against the Rams. I firmly believe that the criticism of Jared Goff by the coaching staff is a smokescreen, and that the poor performance last week against the Bengals was because last week was a look-ahead game. I think that the Detroit Lions are actually trying to get Jared Goff a really good performance against the Rams. Jared Goff is actually winless in his career without Sean McVay, and Jared Goff is aware of that, and I firmly believe that they've been preparing for Detroit for the last 2 weeks. So be sure to like this video, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. And be sure to be on the lookout for our other videos, 5-Minute Fantasy this week.